sign a new lender certification for that particular unit. So that would entail us having to get an updated questionnaire and review the budget to make sure that nothing has adversely changed within that, since that approval. So unfortunately, just because it's on the list doesn't mean we don't need to do anything. You're still going to unfortunately see the questionnaires coming across your desk and from various lenders looking to just verify that information.
But it won't be as burdensome as the full approval?
No, it's not. It's basically the questionnaire and the budget, and as long as that appears adequate, then it should be fine.
Steve?
The list that you're talking about of the approved projects
Yep.
are based on original filings done when?
They actually, as long as HUD's been approving the condominiums, many of those got transferred over. Some may not have. There are some that they approved in the 70s. You know, I don't know exactly which ones they transferred over, but there were many, many projects that they transferred over into the new system. I'm not sure what the cutoff date was.
But I dealt with a manager about 2 months ago. We did a little mini seminar similar to this one, just an FHA. And the particular project they were talking about had been approved maybe 6 months ago. So they,
I don't know how far back HUD went. They never gave us guidance as to what the cutoff date was. Like I said, they had loans from projects from the 70s that were approved.
but for all practical purposes, it has to show up on the approved list.
Yeah.
So, Patty, or you can look for FHA approved projects and Googling it, and it will take you to the approved, and you plug in the name of the condominium and the town, and it will come up with whether it's an approved project or not, and hopefully it gives a date.
It will give I'm pretty sure it gives an expiration date.
Dan, you have a question?
That was the
David?
Yeah, the question I have is that you talked about you need to get the attorney opinion as to whether you're meeting the applicable state laws. And at the last seminar, you stated us all about this watershed permeable surfaces. Is that something that would be incorporated into a state law that we would have to now get an opinion as to whether we qualify, or is it just specifically 183A?
The typical, what it says is basically 183A and other applicable laws. A broad reading of it may get into the watersheds if you're not in compliance. I think we're going to have to see how tough everybody is in terms of what other applicable laws means, but it's a pretty broad standard. It makes us pretty nervous in giving an opinion that it really does meet all applicable laws. So the safer answer is that, yeah, if you're not in compliance, then you're not in compliance. My guess in real life is that in most cases, the opinion is going to be given just based on compliance with 183A. Yes? Linda? Yeah.
On the 10% reserve,
Yes.
is there a deadline where that 10% of the money has to be in the reserve bank account?
Well, they're not looking at, they don't ask the question, the 10% must be in the account.
It's in the budget,
It's in the budget.
but if they don't have it.
Because you spent it? Because you had an unexpected expense?
Something else, yeah.
Well, I've given two answers on that. One, if it's a scam,
No,
then you can't get away with it. Two, if it's because of unexpected expenses,
right.
well, that's why you have the 10% in there. It's for unexpected expenses. So I would at least argue to nasty, mean lenders like Patty that we meet your requirements. We had 10% in the budget. We had to spend some of it for reserve items.
That's how I do it.
Hopefully that would be an acceptable answer.
Yeah, they don't even ask the question anymore, how much is in the reserve fund.
Okay.
That question
But,
is asked.
but I'm not suggesting the scam.
No.
Real life.
Yeah, reality.
Well, people have called me saying, can we just pretend that we're putting this into the budget?
No, reality, sometimes something comes up and they don't get it in by the end of the year.
Linda, you had a question? Excuse me?
All right.
All right. If it's just the opinion letter, it's probably about $750. If it's the opinion letter plus coordinating all the work with the lender, in other words, filling out all the forms that the association could fill out, then it might be $1,500. If we have to go and get recorded copies of all the condominium documents and site plans and all that, it's going to be more. But the opinion isn't an awful opinion. I mean, it's not terrible. We've seen more expensive ones. Mr. Perkins, spokesman?
On the opinion letter now, you're suggesting that maybe the watershed issue doesn't factor in because it's not related to 183A. Are we concerned about Somerville and Cambridge where we have certain special conversion requirements, conversion boards and things along those lines, and making sure that we include those things in our opinion?
I don't think I'd be concerned about it depends at what stage. If it's an existing condominium and you're representing the association and not the developer, I don't think I'd be concerned. If I were representing the converter, I think I would be concerned. I guess all other applicable laws means all other applicable laws. So it's about as broad as it can be, but as to whether one particular unit owner is violating condominium conversion statute, it would bother me, but I have to give that some thought. Good question.
I have
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question. Can I ask Attorney Perkins' group over there how much their opinion letters are?
First, we have to tell them how many hors d'oeuvres and drinks they had tonight, so they can decide how much they should be charging.
Subtract 10%.
Now, of course, the unfair advantage is we've been studying this thing for four months, and now they come in, they get the big book, everything's there. It seems almost unfair.
Is there any provision spending a 10% contribution? For example, if you had an enormous money in reserve, more than you ever dreamed you need, and you just wanted to spend that 10% contribution in 1 year?
I haven't seen any waiver provision.
None.
I also haven't seen all these associations you're talking about with these enormous reserves. You want to raise your hand if you have associations with enormous reserves and you're not sure what to do with your money? I mean, I think some are very well heeled, and there are some associations that are in the upper price ranges which don't have reserves. They special assess and they send out a notice of special assessment, and 2 days later everybody brings down their checks and they don't worry about it. If they want FHA, a Fannie Mae, a Freddie Mac, I think they'd have to play the game and put 10% into the budget. Yes, sir.
Steve, how firm is the February date? I know the November 2nd date.
Firm.
Up to this, that's not going to be
Concrete.
concrete.
Yeah, December 7th, everything became definitive. Question right in front?
If you're not doing the 10%, would having the reserve study, and perhaps the reserve study indicates that, you're fully reserved or adequately reserved, then that would,
That's an interesting question, because the way that FHA words the requirement is if the budget is inadequate, and one is the 10% for reserves, then a reserve study is required.
right,
So theoretically, you could make the argument that we have so much in reserves that we know that we did a moratorium on reserve collections because we have more than sufficient amounts. That'd be reasonable.
That's really the point of the reserve study.
right, so it's like proving that you don't.
That's right, you don't need it because you have all this, so why should the association suffer for that?
But of course, real life is that most reserve studies are going to show that you're woefully inadequately funded. So, but great point, and I probably should have thought of that when I was answering this other gentleman's question, because yeah, show them the reserve study and prove that you have more than you need. Yes, sir.
You suggested that for the first time, you might recommend that boards take a step in getting their associations approved so that the burden doesn't fall on you like unit owner. Do you foresee any potential liability that boards for failing to?
There's always potential liability. A unit owner could say, you basically have made our complex unmarketable, and I lost my sale because of it. I'm,